Before we get started, I want to first of all let you know that we are recording this just so that we can keep a good record of all of your comments for our public input session process. President Robert Johnson is on Zoom with us, so he is watching virtually tonight. Trustees Jackie Petty, Lori Covington, and Vice President Joyce Parent are here with us as well. We also have staff so that hopefully we can have some good conversations tonight about this process. I want to just quickly start by, these signs never work well, but I want us to just take just a second to understand where we are in the process, if we could, okay? This is a conversation that we are having with the community. There is not at present a recommendation in front of the board. This is an opportunity for us to have a conversation to make sure that the plan that we put forth best serves this neighborhood, best serves this community. So it's like a jigsaw puzzle, if you will, okay? There are lots of pieces here that we know that this park needs to be able to provide to the community. We have had over the last several years, multiple conversations about the kinds of things that need to happen here. One of the biggest things that we know needs to happen here is that we need to have more accessible green space on a daily basis for the people who use this park every day to be able to access, okay? We also know that we need to have a more flexible venue for special events and concerts. That's something that we're looking at across the district. Nothing in our park district can serve one thing or play one note if you're in a band. It has to have multiple uses in order to be flexible and have the greatest impact possible. So as we look at this space, there needs to be a conversation about how to use this space most effectively in order to increase green space, have a flexible, modern venue for special events and concerts, that we are able to upgrade our restrooms that need to be upgraded and improved for the use of everyone who comes into this park, that we need to address the playground area up top. That playground has reached its end of life. It is a wooden playground, and those do have a term of life, and that playground needs to be replaced. One of the things that we know in our park district is that we do not have a fully inclusive playground, and it is our priority to try to find a place in our park district that can serve that, that can provide that for the community. We think Leno Park with the zoo and the playhouse here and Lucy is a natural place with all the families who come through this park on a daily basis to have that fully inclusive amenity for our park people to use. We're going to open this up for comments. I have some questions that I want to kind of ask you, if you don't mind, that will help us get a lay of the land to kind of see where we're at. But first, I know Mr. McGowan wants to say a few words.
Good afternoon. I remember a few decades ago, we were out and about the same incident like this. How many people remember what we're gonna be up here about? That was a done deal.
Yeah.
Property had been bought, plans had been made, everything. Glen Oak School was gonna be right here. We blocked it. So we could block a deal that was already done. This is not a done deal. I've talked to everybody involved. This is simply an exploration of ideas. And I would like for it to be more than just about the amphitheater. What I would like for us to do is to go back, go through the park, see what we can do to make the park better. Not only the amphitheater, but the lagoon, basketball court that wants to be built. Let's put our head together, not just be against something, let's be for something. And the way to be for it is let's come up with our own idea. Hey, look here. We see what you want to do. Okay, this year is great. This is great. Let's talk about this right here. Let's talk about this. In other words, let's communicate. You know, it's not a done deal by a long shot. So, you know, we don't have to say that amphitheater today. It's not going to be closed today. It's not going to be recommended to be closed today. So there are going to be other meetings. Matter of fact, once we have this meeting, let's some of us get together, have a meeting somewhere and come up with ideas of our own to make the whole park better. Then we can come back to them with this, and then we'll have a better idea where we're going. So I want you to do this, try to keep the emotions down. Let's try to keep it rational, and let's try to get something accomplished. Okay, thanks.
Awesome.
Okay, so I have a series of questions that are yes, no's, okay? And so if you are a yes, I want you to raise your hand just so we can kind of see who's in the crowd tonight, if that's okay with you, okay? How many of you live in a surrounding neighborhood to Glen Oak Park? Okay. How many of you come to this park on a regular basis? Good, that's what we like to see. How many of you have attended a municipal band concert? Awesome. Okay. How many of you are here and your primary objective when you come here is to save the amphitheater? Okay. How many of you, and this is based upon a conversation I had about 10 minutes ago. How many of you, when I say save the amphitheater, mean you want to save the band shell? Okay, so how many of you mean save the band shell? How many of you mean that you want to save a concert venue in Glen Oak Park? Okay, let's start over. Let's start over. Now you know the two options, okay? How many of you want to save a concert venue in Glen Oak Park?
At this location.
At this location, okay?
This location.
How many of you want to save this band shell specifically?
Negotiable.
That's the kind of, we don't know where you're going.
Okay, all right, okay, it's not a trick question. And here's what it is. No, okay, let's have the conversation just quickly, okay? This is what we do. This is why I'm trying to read the room here a little bit. So this band shell, I understand, right? Built in 1959. It is great, but it does not allow for the kinds of concerts that everybody is talking to us about that they want to see come back to Glen Oak Park.
Fleetwood Mac?
Fleetwood Mac would not play here.
But they did.
They did, but they wouldn't today. Okay, that's the conversation. Fleetwood Mac would not play here because bands like that require a stage with a roof. This is not that. Okay, so that's part of the conversation. The conversation is about not taking away, but improving and evolving and thinking about opportunities to open this space up and allow it to have more than one use. Okay, so the idea is not to say, when we talk about removing the amphitheater, and I will own that if that is a misunderstanding for the bulk of you, when we talked about that space, we meant this. Okay, we also meant, and part of our plan right now is a conversation, and this is the next question, right? How many of you, I don't know how to ask this question actually, hold on. How many of you see the fence as a necessary part of this space?
An upgraded fence.
It's an if?
If we could get Fleetwood back with a roof, they would require a fence. They could have gates.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so special events, how about on a daily basis? Because special events, we have fence that we bring all the time for special events, right? If we get Fleetwood Mac here, dude, our staff will put the fence up and we'll have them come in and they can pay admission,
I didn't
okay?
really care about Fleetwood Mac in general, but it was just an example.
I'm not even sure that they are still touring, but it's a really good example. Okay, so how many of you believe, let's ask that question again. How many of you believe this fence is a necessary part of keeping this part of the park open or closed?
Or an upgraded fence.
Upgrade.
An
upgraded fence.
Fencing,
A
some kind
nicer
of
fence
fence.
than that.
Okay, so what I want,
Conversation, but you could always leave the gates open and anybody could walk in and out.
so we're gonna try that.
You're making it sound like the fence makes it prohibitive to open the gates.
We've never done that before. So we are going to,
Yeah, but like you wanted to put some other use thing here, and
Yep.
have the gates open, you have to tear the fence down to do that.
how about a fence that doesn't have barbed wire on the top?
Yes.
Yeah.
One inclusive,
Yeah.
inviting.
It
So-
already feels
so-
like a prison.
So that is the sentiment that I would love for, will you come up here and just say this into the microphone for me? That is the sentiment about this fence that I want you to understand the direction that we are coming from as a park district. We don't want this fence to feel like,
Where do you-
right there.
I don't want it to feel like a prison or anything, any variation thereof. We are already, I see the barbed wire up there. You can see it up there. They've done this to the East Bluff. And it may not be with fences like this, but it's disinvestment. It's taking everything from us, our businesses. They don't care about our homes. The city owns these homes. We need this. We have the zoo right up there. We have the Children's Museum, the Lagoon, all used all the time. Why not save this? We can upgrade it. I know there's $2 million. Fences, but make it look like we're in a prison. I mean, that's not what youth need to see. They see enough blight in our neighborhood.
Yep.
They see that the city doesn't care. Let's show them the opposite. Let's show them that we can do this.
Amen. Okay, so I need you to know that that's what these trustees, that's what our staff is invested in, is that idea of evolving this space to show our commitment to the people who live here. Okay? And that means having a conversation about what needs to be here and in what form. Okay? Hold on just one second, okay? All right, so who sees the value? This is, I guess, tell me this one, right? I'm bad at these questions evidently. Who sees the value in increasing access to the lagoon? Okay, that's hard to argue, right? Okay, so there's a ton of people who come into this park that don't know that the lagoon is here. If they come up, and you know this, right? If they come in and they come to the zoo or they come to the playhouse, right now, the lagoon is cut off to them. And there are folks who come in here every day who don't know that that gorgeous thing exists. The lagoon.
Right now.
Right, there are people, those people though are, those people are neighborhood people, right?
Everybody lives here.
That's right, everybody who lives here knows that the lagoon is
Grew
here.
up here or grew up in Center Peoria or
Right.
anywhere in Peoria, they
Right.
know where it is.
Right.
It's all you have to do is. walk
We
down
do
the hill.
advertise it, but they can't find it because it is so cut off with fence and natural stuff that needs to be cleaned out a little bit, okay? Who sees the need for a fully inclusive playground? Does everybody understand what a fully inclusive playground is? I heard that one. Good, Steve. Well, it is a playground for everyone, but it is, so a fully inclusive playground is different than the idea of swings and slides and all the things that only able-bodied kids can do, right? Is a combination, so it has a soft surface, okay? It allows for, if you are in a wheelchair, if you have physical challenges, it allows you to have a like experience. So some of the amenities in that playground will look different so that you could slide your wheelchair onto a swing and then swing. That's what we mean by a fully inclusive playground.
Keep it where it is.
Modern and updated.
Modern and updated, it could be. That's absolutely right. So that's the puzzle pieces, right, that we're trying to put together, is figuring out where it makes the most sense to put the things to maximize the flexibility of this space to get more people into the park safely and effectively and doing lots of different things, okay? Okay, here's one that's gonna cause, this will be interesting. How many of you are in support of adding basketball courts to Glen Oak Park?
I thought that was separate funding anyway. That was private funding for Donovan.
No, what did I say? Basketball courts in Glen Oak Park.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
No to basketball courts? Yes.
Yeah.
Give me your hand if you're a yes. Yes to basketball courts. If they are put in a spot that will not, if we can figure out a spot that works for everybody, is there a,
Not on Prospect.
not on Prospect?
Bring it back further on. to
Okay.
Prospect.
Okay, hold on.
Up there, yes. Down here, no.
Okay. Up here, yes, down here, no.
You cannot have those courts without supervision. You're gonna have all kinds of problems.
Okay, okay, okay,
Supervision is key.
Dedicated
Okay.
location.
okay. Say that again, dedicated location.
Dedicated location.
What does that mean?
It means a specific spot for basketball courts, not to be integrated with this.
So separate from the other amenities in the park. How many people agree with that comment, that basketball courts should be in Glen Oak Park if they are separated from the other amenities in the park?
No,
No way.
That is the reason why you gonna cause a problem with that though, Emily.
Okay, hold on. Let's play the game. Okay, so everybody said yes if they're separated from the other parts of the park. Raise your hand. I don't know yet either. That's what we have to figure out together.
Okay, but
Well, if your other choice is to say, I want it right in the middle of all the stuff.
What about the tennis courts?
You want it by the tennis courts?
yeah. I'm-
Okay, all right, okay. This is the piece. This is the piece. Right now, we need to agree on, hold on. We need to agree on the pieces of the puzzle, okay? So we've agreed on, hopefully, we've agreed on a concert venue. Yes,
in this location.
we've agreed on an inclusive playground.
Up there.
We've agreed on better restrooms.
Fixing that, fixing the
Monkey house.
beautiful pagoda up there. That should be part of it.
Okay,
All of
we
it.
can add that to the list to look at, improving the monkey house. We'll come back to that. Taking the fence down. Do we have general consensus to taking this fence down and replacing it potentially with something else that allows for concert venues?
Open it up.
Hold on.
No,
Hold on. Do I have a staff person who can tell me the history of this? None of you.
no, I can tell you. It's been there
Okay, so
a
the
long
fence
time.
has been here longer than all of us.
It's a monstrosity.
It was put in 40 years ago, is what staff says.
Yes.
I will tell you that when we walked this as part of our tour, when we toured the entire park district, this was one of our priorities, was to figure out how to get this barbed wire fence down. Okay, if there is a different kind of fence that is necessary for events, we can talk about that, but the barbed wire fence needs to go.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes?
yes.
Protection from people so they don't drown, you know, in the lagoon.
We will handle that. That's separate, okay? We are talking about the barbed wire fence around the perimeter. That's a great question. Good question. We will make sure that there is some barrier between this and the lagoon so nobody falls into the lagoon.
But you can walk right down from the playground to the lagoon without hitting the fence. You can
Right.
walk right down, so what, that makes. no
Here,
sense.
it's the short, it's the drop off
From
there.
here,
That's the
instead of
drop off there. That's what it
up
needs to be there.
there.
Okay, okay, yes.
I know, I also use the.
Can you come up here so everybody can hear you?
Yeah.
Okay, so as she walks up here, I would love for this to be a conversation, okay? If you have comments that you want to make sure are part of the record, we're gonna try to limit comments to 5 minutes a person because there are a lot of you. If we can have a conversation where you ask questions and everybody learns from it, I'd love that opportunity too. We have trustees, we have staff here who want to try to move this along, okay? Because there is a lot of misinformation out there about what our targets are. And our goal is to represent your voices in this process while trying to evolve this park to those puzzle pieces that we talked about, okay? So let's try to figure out the best way for us to do that together tonight. Okay, into the microphone if you would, please.
This is definitely a question.
Good.
I use also, besides this, I also use the riverfront park a lot.
Yep.
And I know for special events, they have those movable fences. Is that what you're thinking about for here? Because I would be in favor of that. If you know, that just put it up for special events and it goes down.
Okay, so her question, everybody heard her question? All right. so where's
Okay,
my-
I'll speak louder. Is this on?
That is. You gotta
Okay.
get your mouth right up next to it. They're trying to turn it up.
They're working on turning up. the
I don't want to
speaker.
get too close. Okay, now I can see. Okay, I am at the riverfront a lot.
Okay,
Running or hiking or doing something. And I was wondering during this way.
Oh, we
I don't
want
wanna
to see
see.
you
Okay. Okay, I'll get this right. I'm at the riverfront a lot, using Riverfront Park. And I know for special events, they have the movable fencing. I would not be opposed to something like that here. I don't know how much it would cost, but it should be a lot better, you know, everything would be open and you'd only have to fence up a couple, you know, whenever there are special events. Is that possible?
yes,
Yes.
that's possible. And that's what we are interested in, is to be able to make this space usable on a daily basis when there are not special events, and then bring in fence when we need to allow for ticketed events. So yes, that's exactly right. Yes, sir. Come on up to the microphone.
Comment, you can hear it, trust me. I've been coming here since I was 2 or 3 years old. I love this space as a concert venue. And I don't care if the fence stays or not, but I don't want anything to happen to this hill, which makes it a perfect concert venue. If it puts the fencing back. Close off the entrance over here to the lagoon, and those two entrances to the lagoon, we still have that. And we can double the size of the people being able to attend these things.
I think that's great.
And
So,
the basketball court,
yeah,
go down to the bottom where the tennis court used to be, be, down by.
Yes, yes.
okay, one at a time, because I'm gonna lose half the crowd with that second part. Okay, one at a time.
Basketball courts at Glen Oak, either the nets are gone or the rims are
Yeah,
down,
that's
they can't
fine.
keep them up, it doesn't really matter. They're
Right.
gonna be gone, the kids, they disrupt, the cops don't want them there. I don't know, unless you're gonna have 24-hour, you know, people here at the park, I don't think basketball courts matter that much here.
Okay, thank you. Will you come up to the microphone? Because you are not as loud as he is. You're fine. I actually wouldn't, and I know that you got it in you, but we're gonna use the microphone anyway. I know I'm a little worried. I'm a little nervous.
My name is Marsha Washburn. I lived in Peoria all my life, and I love the Amphitheater. And as far as the basketball courts, I love the kids, and all my grandkids particularly were all into sports and things like that. But the problem you've had with that, they have tried this throughout Peoria at the schools, putting up these basketball courts, and the kids destroy them. They've ended up taking them down. So that's when I say you've got to have some supervision. It's got to be supervised play. You're going to have problems. You're going to have trouble. You're going to have fights. The property's going to be destroyed, and you've wasted your money.
Hold on, yes. I do. We'll let Jesse respond. I want to say quickly while Marcia goes back to her seat, you did great, Marcia. Thank you so much. I want to say that the Park District has a history of being able to integrate basketball courts into their different parks. So we have basketball courts at Stadium Park. We have basketball courts at MLK Park. We have basketball courts at Morton Square Park. We have basketball courts at Gwen Park. We have basketball courts at Logan Park. We have basketball courts at Tree Wind Park. So those exist, okay? There are ways for us to work together to figure out how to do this. I just want to say that before Jesse comes up. Maybe Jesse was going to say that.
No.
I know. I thought I'd give it a shot.
Speaking of the basketball courts up at Little School, and I know personally because I'm the one that had the goals out up there. They didn't destroy the goals. They didn't steal the nets. They didn't steal the rims. There were fights, yes. There are going to be fights wherever there's basketball there. Because they down the other part, they'll have fights. If we're going to put it down on the bottom of the hill, it's not going to benefit the East Bluff. I mean, Robert is the favorite of the basketball goals. I still need for basketball goals, but I also need for some supervision. But the kids are going to be kids. They're going to be fighting. If we're going to isolate them, then we might not put back, but they're part of the park. So, and I don't want to go that route, but I am going to go that route. The only people that's going to be playing basketball are black kids. So there are people that going to keep that in mind. Whether black kids are going to be problems, don't put them out here with us. Let's keep, if we're going to have basketball courts that have where they're accessible to everybody and be a part of the park and not someone sitting out by themselves.
And they play basketball the whole life growing up with the black kids. So,
I did basketball court for 3 years, though. There were very few white
not
boys.
on that one,
I
no, not on that one.
Okay, all right, we got it. Okay.
Basketball. We did it, Logan, and all these, all over here.
Hi, into the microphone. You have a gentle voice.
My name's Bruce Morgan. I live straight across the street with the sign, Save Our Band Shell. I'm in support of keeping the amphitheater at Glen Oak Park.
Yeah.
If they want to put basketball courts in, take the fence down, let them do it. But don't take one of the only amenities that we have at this park. And it's been here since 1959. The noise doesn't bother the neighbors. We love it. If we're not here enjoying the activities that they sponsor, we listen to it in our yard. We love it.
Yep.
Keep it. If you want to tear it down, but bring a brand new big one.
Right.
We want something nice. Or put something nice in for Glen Oak Park.
Upgrade.
Bruce Morgan, East Bluff, Peoria, Illinois.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. Thank you. All right, I got, why don't you come on up? And you'll be next.
I never needed to come up to a microphone.
Hi, Willa.
The amphitheater. I remember the Jesse White tumblers
Yep.
performing.
Yep.
I remember the dance group performing. I remember summer band students performing. I remember a lot of activities. Battle of the Bands. It doesn't have to be Fleetwood Mac. It can be a local group that brings their own.
So she went, hey, will or something. Great.
They to build it and they will come. Yeah. My biggest pet peeve is Lower Glen Oak Park. I'm a hiker. I walk a lot. I gave up the bridges that are deteriorating.
Yep.
I've got photographs of the sequence of the sidewalk falling into the creek. I walk Springdale now because I can. That becomes impossible. Fallen trees, you climb over some, duck under some, go around others. That is such a beautiful part of the park. Talk about going down to the riverfront to walk or run. If that were taken care of, we could go right down the hill and walk and run.
Yep.
But above all, schedule the amphitheater for something. I'd like to know how much bigger the attendance is for the symphony way out yonder, sitting on a blanket or on your own chair, than it is here. It's scattered out here, but I question the number. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I do want to say, Willa, those are excellent. Right, Willa, thank you very much for your comments. I'm serious. I'm totally serious. Thank you for those comments. We certainly will have some conversations about some of that trail work that needs to be done. I'm not sure about fallen trees, but those are things that we will look at. We are replacing curb and gutter on at the lower Glen Oak Park right now. As far as programming, that's something that we absolutely can figure out, but it has to be something that is a collaborative effort. As a park district, we are trying to, if I move this meeting to a different park, I would have a different group of you that want programming in that park too, right? So as a park district, we are trying to do our very best to move programming around. Okay, so you've seen with things like Movies in the Park, where those are in multiple locations across the district. Hopefully you've been to a Parks on Tap event. One of those is coming here to Glen Oak Park on September 23rd. Try to make sure that those kinds of things, know that they have to spread out to serve everybody. But collaboratively, if we have the opportunity, we want to work with local bands or local promoters to bring activities into this space. But we can't do it all by ourselves, okay? We have to work together in order to make that a viable option and to make sure that people come. I can't answer your question. I'm sure that Mr. Winger can, or other members of the band commission could talk to you about the difference in the attendance between here and Lakeview Park. What I will tell you is what I told them, that the Lakeview Park option was a temporary solution for 2021 because we needed to figure out what the future of this was before we committed dollars to something that was going to be moved or not moved. Everybody can shake their head, but that is the reality. We are trying to be the best stewards possible. It doesn't make everybody happy. I understand that. That's part of our jobs, is to make sure that we are being the best stewards we can be. If we make everybody a little bit unhappy, maybe we've done our jobs. Everyone understood, and I will say it again, that 2021 in Lakeview Park was a temporary solution until we figured out what this needs to be for 2022 and beyond. Yes, ma'am. Oh, wait. You were next.
Quick comment?
Yeah, it's just real quick.
Can you come up to the microphone?
Yeah. It's super quick, I promise. I just want to say for over 100 years that the Glen Oak Park has been the gem of the Peoria Park districts. There's no other park in Peoria, Illinois that is like this, nor Peoria County. But we have these deteriorating bridges. We have prison walls built up around it. Our community needs this. If the city doesn't realize it, the park district doesn't realize it, let's just let it fall apart. Is that what we want? We don't want that. We need to bring the community back together. This is the gem. This was one of the original.
It was the original.
Yes,
Yep.
and you have all these beautiful bridges just falling apart. There's no maintenance on them. We have the beautiful concession stand that's pagoda style that needs to be fixed up. There's so much that needs to be done. But again, this is the gem. We need to get these trails back in order. We need to fix these bridges. And I have no doubt, and I will personally say, I will help you bring venues here, bring people here to this venue. I know people, musicians, groups, dance companies, plays, everything. I will work my
Got it, got it.
Rhoda,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, thank you. Back in the back, you want to come next? Okay.
Okay, so first I'd like to just thank Administrator Cahill and the Park District for getting this conversation started, because there's a lot of nothingness happening for a long time. And whether or not you like a particular discussion or something, the thought of how can we envision something for our community that's better had to start somewhere. So I appreciate that. I think, I've certainly been watching on the East Bluff Facebook group, some of those things, a lot of comments. I could echo a lot of the comments some of you have made about, I can remember coming to this park for municipal band concerts with my mom as a kid, the blanket out there, it's great. I can remember before I lived in Peoria, attending the tricentennial ceremony. I don't know, I was under 10. And we came in and they had giant Trusker's cake and all that stuff. And it was really cool. But none of that matters for what the community needs unless it can be those things for another generation of people. It's one of those things where all these memories are great and they can be lauded and there's ways to echo them in the future, but just saying keep the thing isn't going to get us there. This basketball court, discussion is part of it, right? The kids and the immediately surrounding community, I imagine the number one thing they would use in this park on a day-to-day basis are basketball courts. And so the idea that we're going to lock off a swath of ground that is very large, bigger than probably some of the parks in town, and say, well, no, the kids have fights. There's problems, which they do. not arguing that, but that has to be a core piece of what this park provides, not just a walk down memory lane for the once or twice a year someone who now lives 5 miles further out wants to come to a muni band concert, and especially if they don't feel like going to the one in front of Kelleher's or whatever it is. I think it's great that we think about greatness for this park, though. I think that's the biggest thing I've heard is everyone seems to latch on to the specific things of the past, the sunken gardens, the this, the that. It is what it is. The Peoria is in a different place than it was then. Some things are better, some things are worse. But I think we need to be thinking about how can this be used? And I think a fair point would be, how can we have more buildings, whether reused or constructed new, that are like the Monkey House and unique and give off a sense of place, as opposed to a cinder block building that could have been in any park built anywhere. I think that's a big part of this conversation is how do we make this something that is useful and beautiful and shows investment and draws people in, whether they're from 5 miles away, 50 miles away, to go to something like the zoo, and then they're like, oh, the lagoon, and walk around. And you know what? Those types of people, if you get them to stay in the East Bluff, that's how you build back business. And those types of things. So I think the biggest thing, though, is the fence has to come down. Like, just think about how much space this is using, so that maybe if we wanted to one day be able to charge an admission fee to something that may or may not show up. And I think as far as the band shell, I think there's lots of thoughts there on amphitheater venues and, and I think that can go a lot of ways. But I think the thing here is, don't tear it down until you've got something better, not necessarily a duplicate venue, but a defined plan to make this area of Glen Oak Park better. Don't just tear it down in events, because I think, I can think of like the summer camps and things running, or the children's playhouse, take the fence down and kids just come up here and play. Right? They play act in front of each other. If the thing's not reserved, they just do that, and those types of things. And I think the other thing that needs to all be considered in this is, we're talking about this accessible playground, all-inclusive playground. I have 2 siblings born with disabilities, and there's lots of little things that go into that. So even right now, like you look around here, it's accessible-ish, but how can we also build on all of these things to make something that is very useful for those families and invites them to stay. So make sure that there's not pebble walks between important features because wheelchairs don't roll well, those types of things. So I think really if we can all just, as the gentleman at the beginning said, let go of some of the emotion of the things we're attached to, think about what's best for our community and make this park vibrant and fill all the day serving all the constituencies. I think that's what we need.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Coming to this park since I was 2 years old and moved to Peoria, and coming to the band concerts, and Fred Huber even invited all the kids to grab a baton and come up and direct the band one time. That was fun. But we did children's theater down here. We've done so many things that have been using this wonderful space. And I just hate to see this wonderful space gone because it's just got so much potential. And I went to Woodruff and we got to have our graduations here, which meant we could invite aunts, uncles, grandparents, everybody, because there was room for everybody to sit on the hill if they want. And it's just such a wonderful place to social distance during the pandemic. We can have a music event and still sit 6 feet away from people. It's just a wonderful place. And I want to see every chance that we have to keep this wonderful place for our wonderful city. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. We'll come after her. That's okay. Come on up. I know you're being very patient. I'm really sorry.
My name is Barbara. I'm really interested in the band, in keeping the band entity together, having a good place for the band to, a good venue. And this is a natural amphitheater. I have seen amphitheaters throughout the world. And this is a beautiful location, good for sound. As far as the bandstand itself goes, I'm not sure about the construction. Maybe that needs to be replaced. I don't know. I'm not sure if the band, well, you're very powerful and you didn't know it. If the band has to pay to use this facility, but we need a place where it's affordable for a band because it is a municipal band. Makes it free for us to come and enjoy it. And I guess that's all.
Thank you. You did very well.
I just would like to see the band able to have a good venue.
So do we. We're gonna figure it out together. Thank you, Mr. Patient. I'm sorry, right up here, into the microphone.
My name is Ron. I live on Prospect. I came here in 2008. I bought a house on Prospect and I was going to stay here for like a couple of years, retire and go back to wherever I came from. But I did.
On to you, Ron.
I got involved in this community. She's so sweet. I got involved in this community volunteering, working with different people, and really grew to really love this area. And sitting on my porch and listening to the band on Sundays was good. Or any event. I hear the music, I just work in the yard and it's just enjoyable. It's enjoyable for me to see the kids, the young teens or 20-somethings play football out there. You know, they're just playing. I see the families, the young families come over and young families. And that playground is their source of entertainment. They bring their kids, they watch them, and it brings the family together, brings the community together. And
I go back in the
used to watch baseball games, and then all of a sudden, the Diamonds were gone. I don't know what happened there. I mean, I don't watch baseball anymore because they're gone.
Sunday
But it's such a,
still around.
pardon me?
The Sunday morning league is still
Oh,
around.
okay, thank you. Anyway, the people in East Bluff I don't know, maybe Jesse plays pickleball. Well, I don't know. But
Jesse.
I don't know many of
I'll be
my,
glad to teach you, Jesse.
I don't know many of my neighbors who play pickleball or tennis or, you know, we go to the zoo, we go, you know, we do different things, but I'm really concerned about the people in this little neighborhood, and I'd like to keep including them in the picture. You know what I mean? Not just for people on the outside. Don't make the East Bluff, our little jewel, something, or Glen Oak Park, something for everybody else. To make it for the people here, because this is a source of entertainment, you know, for people that, and I see them all the time, and I'm rambling now, so
You're
I'm
not,
gonna
you're doing
shut
great.
up and sit
Will you
down.
stay here with me though, and let me ask you a question?
Sure,
Okay, so that conversation about serving the people who live here,
Right.
right? Versus the regional draw, that is people coming to the zoo and the playhouse and Lithium Botanical
Yeah.
Garden, right? A lot of those folks are, or tennis courts or whatever, they're coming from another place here,
right.
right? So I would love to hear your thoughts on, if the fence comes down, everybody's good, you're good with that?
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's think, I would love to hear like this idea of, I agree with the muni band, okay? I'm not trying to move the muni band out of here. What I'm trying to figure out is that balance though, because opening this up and making this a space for everyone to use. So we looked at the numbers, okay? Somebody sent me an email and asked the question, how many people live in the East Bluff? 10,700 people live in the East Bluff, okay? How many, right, you should clap. How many people live on the riverfront? If you're generous and you give them the apartments, 1,100 people, okay? So understand that distinction for me, right?
understand.
So Sunday night muni band is a tradition and it's awesome. And you hear that on your front porch and you're like, bring it on, right? Saturday night and a rock band every Saturday night, or, you know, Friday nights with, I don't know, jazz. At some point, right? I want to try to make sure that we all understand sort of the rationale, and then we talk through what it means, because it's every Sunday night is lovely and you sit on your porch and that's how you end your weekend. Every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for a season, at what point is it too much? Because there are, okay, but we get a lot of phone calls that say it's really loud, right? But I just want to try to make sure that there is a balance here that we're trying to strike, right?
Sure,
Trying to find that way to honor the neighborhood,
Right.
honor the traditions, honor the people who live here and give you better things, while at the same time not overtaxing this park. Does that make sense? Because it already has lots of big, or the neighborhood, right? So it already has lots of big ticket things that are drawing people in.
Sure.
How many things are too many in a park this size? How do we think about those resources? And I'm gonna stop talking because I've asked you a bunch of questions.
Right.
I know. Okay, so how many things are too many things? Is there such a thing?
Well, that's an open-ended question,
That's
and I don't
what you
think we
can
can answer, but I know that I can get together with Willa and Jesse and a lot of other people, and we can come up with some kind of plan. Can we do that? I think we can come back to you, but I think people need to be included in the conversation. That's all we want. I think that's the bottom line. We want to be included in the
Public input.
conversation. This
Okay.
is our home.
So know that that's what this is.
I'm not going anywhere.
I don't want you to go.
Not here, probably.
Well,
Not right
you know
here.
what? This is a great place. This is a great place to live your life. But
But
I want you to know that
Yes.
that's why we're here tonight. Okay, I'm gonna go all the way very back to the beginning and say, this is a starting point, because you have to have somewhere to start. This is identifying those puzzle pieces that we know we need,
Right.
and then working together to
Right.
figure out how to put the puzzle pieces together. Okay,
Right.
all right,
Thank you. very
thank you.
Can we have a funeral out here?
Easy, Dixie. You're pushing me, man. Back here, you wanna come up in the hat? Would you come up here? You waved your hand at me unless you were just waving at me. You can, but I can tell by your voice, you need to be at this microphone. I love your t-shirt.
Most people think
Here? Yes. Here, I'm gonna hold it down to you because I don't know how to adjust it.
From something that you just said not long ago, why was a municipal band made to go to the expense and the time to move their entire season out to Lakeview. If you just wanted to be able to converse and bring people in through the week, you don't work here on Sunday night, do you?
I was there last night and I love the band.
I do too. But why did they have to move? Even if it was just for the one last week? Why did they?
Well, so
They must not be easy to set all that up there on the road in front of the museum.
So we have staff that help them to do that every week. We set up the sound, we get them ready to go.
But why?
Why?
go to any of
Because,
that?
okay, so if you look over there, there's some cones because there's a hole, right? There are some things in the infrastructure here that need to be fixed. And I don't have the money yet. I don't, okay? So let's just think, just play along with this game, okay? So if you have, let's think about this. If you have in your yard, okay? You have a sinkhole in your yard, but you think that you might want to put in a wishing well. Do you wait to see if you decide about the wishing well, or do you fill in the hole and then come back the next year and put in the wishing well? That's a terrible example.
And I know.
Okay, so we are trying to work through the process. I think, and I know you guys don't like this, right? But we didn't know until April that we were going to be able to have a muni band season. And so the conversation was, okay, we know that this process is happening. We know we have the potential to receive dollars to make this part of the park better. Can we work together to use Lakeview Park? And we didn't just look at Lakeview Park. We looked at multiple locations across the park district to find a spot that would work for the 2021 season until we figured out what this should look like.
Well, that's okay up there. I've been going, but quite frankly, old people like me didn't find it really easy to have that expanse of lawn. They kept it mowed, but it's still lumpy and stuff to walk on. Where here, you can come down the hill on the cement or close by and have it very handy to come all the way down here on cement if you want to.
Okay.
So places like that, I don't think are conducive to the banding. Or I just want to know, I really still don't know why they couldn't have played here like they did last summer.
Because there are some things here, there would be what we would call as a park district, there are some safety issues that we would have had to have put some significant dollars in to get it ready in a very quick turnaround. And so we made that decision. We tried to be the best stewards we could. I know I'm not gonna make everybody happy. I know that you're not happy. And I get that, but we're almost done with the season. And the beauty of having this conversation now is that when we're ready to start 2022 season, we're gonna know where they're gonna be and we're gonna be ready. That's the best I can do. Yes.
Getting back to the lagoon, you mentioned the fact that people just coming in from probably out of town don't even know there is a lagoon, I don't know where it is. The main entrance to the park is right that way. Hardly anybody, except unless you live here around in the East Block particularly, even know about this road up here, which is what I use all the time to come to.
Don't tell anybody else.
So if you have a playground down here, are you going to put a sign up by the main entrance that says playground 1 mile south?
That's a really good question. And I have maybe a potential spot for you to work for me at the park district. But, okay, so think about this with me. While you're standing up here, turn around. Look at the fence that's got some stuff growing on it, right? It makes it hard to see. Part of taking out the fence and clearing out some of this vista means that you will be able to see down here. If and when that playground goes away, whether we put the inclusive playground up on the hill or we bring it down here, having that out of the way means that you'll be able to see in a totally different way, signage or no. Does that make sense? I know you don't have to agree with me, but I just need you to tell me if it makes sense or not.
I suppose it would be easily.
Come here and say this in the microphone because I got an I suppose.
I suppose that it might be assuming that, they look down this way even. The entrance to the park is a heck of a long ways up there if you think in consideration.
Yeah. We have a lot of parks that are
they
spread
gonna
out,
wanna
so.
come even walk? Where's the playground? Well, it's down over that hill and through the woods and over here.
Over the river and through the woods.
Yeah.
You're right. So that's one of the things that as a collective, we all have to be better at because it is okay to walk, right? And it is preferred and we should try to get more people walking in our parks. And so that's one of the objectives of this. You've been really good. I appreciate it. Thank you. Who's next? Yes, ma'am. You want to come up here? I can try to meet you halfway. You sure? Oh my goodness, should I be nervous? No, no. Come on up, people have a quick in their neck. I'm Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi.
Hi,
I'm-
Rebecca.
I'm an old Averyville girl from an old Averyville family. I grew up in this park. My dad grew up in this park. One of the great things about this park is that you can reach it from just about any point in town. In '64, I did community theater under Kenneth Camp. Anybody remembers Kenneth Camp? We did Cat on the Oregon Trail. I was the Indian mother. This was my Pappas carrier. Years old. And we were a working class family, one car. And the reason I could do community theater, come to rehearsals, was because I could walk here from Park and Monroe Street, hike up through the park and hike home again. This has always been very accessible on foot. When I lived down in Madison Park area, I walked back and forth to this amphitheater from Madison Park. I'd come up, it was hot, maybe I'd take the bus up, but I always had to walk back home. I'd come up, for the quarter movies. I'd come up for the band concerts. A few years later, when I was living down at the YW, I'd walk up here for band concerts. I'd walk up here for the 4th of July celebration. But you can get here from just about anywhere in the main core of the city.
Yep.
Parks, places like Donovan, you're gonna have a car to get there and get back. We're looking at some serious climate issues coming up. They're telling us we've got 10 years to curb our gas emissions. As time goes on, emphasis is going to be drawn back into these city parks.
We've already seen that with COVID. We've seen our numbers go up significantly because of COVID, and we need to figure out how to keep people in our parks. We absolutely agree.
And coming, in the next 10, 15 years, is Donovan going to be all that relevant? I mean, or are people going to be here in their neighborhood parks where they can, bike or walk or even bus? Bus doesn't run very late, but you can do it on the bus.
Yep.
I've done that. So as climate changes and as people stop driving less, these parks, Glen Oak, even bottom of Grandview Park, Bradley Park, even Lakeview, are going to be pulling people in. And the outside parks like Donovan, Robinson, Detweiler, are probably going to be less and less used. So we want to think about where we're going to be 10, 15 years out when we're making these plans.
I think that's an excellent point. and I
Yes,
appreciate that very
absolutely.
much.
All
Thank you.
righty.
Thank you.
Oh, well, I was mostly supposed to be dancing. I couldn't dance. Auntie Pam 2 years later, and I had like 3 lines of the
Jesse just asked how often we're gonna stock the pond. Okay, so fish are coming. You'd be surprised the supply chain issues that are happening with hatcheries. So we are working to have fish here in time for the Clyde West Fishing Derby, which is gonna take place on Saturday, September 11th. We did have to move the fishing derby from the spring to the fall this year because of COVID, but we are committed to the Clyde West Fishing Derby. We're going to actually have that event in conjunction with Worldwide Day of Play, which is our opportunity to celebrate play and recreation across our community here in Glen Oak Park. So please come out and join us that day, but there'll be fish in there by then.
It's gonna only be large fish, gonna be this fast.
It's gonna be different size fish, but there's gonna be, we're doing our best to have good fish for you. Yes. Yes, sir. Come on up.
I'm gonna try not to ramble, but I'm an educator by trade, and there's been a lot of great ideas about this park, what it needs to be, the improvements, and everything else. There's, from listening to what people think about basketball courts, you know, it sounds like there's pros and cons. But you know, there are different ways to provide things like basketball in the park. The question I have is how much real cooperation and support is there between the government entities of the Park District, Peoria Public Schools, and the city? Because I know of communities where that cooperation produces all kinds of not only just activities, but accommodations. It produces a lot of cooperation throughout the entire community. And I don't know what all the politics to all that is, but sure seems to me that other communities, their government entities could get together, you know, it works for them. I mentioned basketball. Remember the Gus Macker? What if, just a suggestion, we got a gravel parking lot up here. What if it was paved? And what if those government entities sponsored something like the Gus Macker for the community? And that would draw people not only to this park, but to the city. No basketball courts, but there'd be plenty of basketball taking place in Glen Oak Park, okay? I was watching this little girl here do cartwheels, and I was thinking back to our little girls. My girls were cheerleaders, and they practiced in this park. As little girls, they came over here and did cartwheels and somersaults and all kinds of things, and they were taught on this stage. So a big part of this, I think, is scheduling things. And not only scheduling, but making sure that the surroundings and the accommodations are conducive to the things that you want to put in the park. And I agree with everything that's been said about the trails and everything else. That all needs to happen. But there's other things that could also happen, other different kinds of things. So thank you all for expressing and putting up with me.
Thank you for your comments. I would also want to just let you know that on September 11th, when we do Worldwide Day of Play in Clyde West Fishing Derby, we're hosting a 3-on-3 basketball tournament at the Barton Pavilion parking lot. We are focusing on kids aged 3rd grade through 8th grade. If you know of teams, we are still signing teams up, but we are trying to build some of those things back. It takes a collaborative effort for us to do that, but we are excited and hope that we have a really competitive basketball tournament that takes place on that Saturday. Here. So on Saturday, September 11th, when we do Worldwide Day of Play and the Clyde West Fishing Derby, we are also going to host a 3-on-3 basketball tournament at the Barton Pavilion, which is the parking lot outside of the zoo in that space there. That is the second in a series of 3-on-3 basketball tournaments that we've hosted as a park district. So earlier in May, we hosted a 3-on-3 tournament on the riverfront and activated that space on a Saturday morning and had, I don't know how many teams, but it was a really good first event. We're trying to build that up over time. It's slow going, but it is something that we welcome teams from all over to be a part of that participation. And hopefully we get to a point where we outgrow some of those spaces, but we are trying. You asked the question, I'm not going to dodge it, about governmental collaboration. We do our best to support each other. Most of that is at the programmatic level. When we get to those capital opportunities, everybody is challenged for dollars right now. We are able to find some opportunities to collaborate to make improvements. We probably don't do it enough, but it's something that we recognize and we'll continue to work at to be better at it. Yes, ma'am, come on up. You'll be next, okay?
Hi, we bring our grandson to this park a lot because it's one of the few parks that has shaded playgrounds. Does everybody understand how important that is when you're sledding along with a 3-year-old? I look on your map here and it looks like those yellow squares to improve the view mean cutting down trees.
Not all the trees, but the trees that are not in good shape. I don't know, Matt, you want to talk about that, or I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm so sorry.
No, I can. It would, tree removals would be non-native trees. In the bluff area here, there probably wouldn't be much, as Emily referred to earlier. Opening this up, really probably most just with the fence and maybe some of the greenery that's grown up on the fence. But as you look here behind us, there would be quite a bit of thinning out, some mulberry trees and some elms and trees that aren't necessarily native to Central Illinois that may be considered to be removed there, but we'd be very considerate about that.
Okay, well, it
Thank you,
prompted
Matt.
me to make a suggestion.
Yes.
Of, as far as the plan, on
Yes.
those yellow boxes. If you put the playground up and where you put those yellow boxes, so you have a playground all along the vista where people sit and where the kids are and they can see this, that's where people will gather and that's will benefit from having the view of the lagoon. So I just would suggest that you think about who's
that's
going to
great.
sit around up there
Yep.
and enjoy the view, or the parents and grandparents who are watching their kids play.
Yep, thank you very much. And so note that when that fence comes down and we clear that space out, it changes that perspective, right? It changes where we can place picnic tables, where we can place benches. All of this is, it is the puzzle pieces, right? Where you put them impacts how that feels and how that looks. So that's absolutely right.
And that would lead to the playhouse.
Yes, she said, and that would lead to the playhouse. Amen. I agree. Very good. Thank you. You want to come on up, sir?
That's gonna be short.
Okay.
Tell us a little
Use your
something-
loud voice.
Can you tell us a little something about that group's plan to try to build an amphitheater at Donovan Park?
Yep. Okay.
Is the park district on board with that?
Okay, so his question is, I tell you a little bit about the group's plan to bring an amphitheater to Donovan, and is the park district on board with that? Okay, so we have a process as a park district, okay? When private groups have ideas for ways that we should use facilities or ways that we should use park space, we ask them, the very first thing we ask them to do, like I get calls all the time, right? That are like, you should put a zip line across blah, 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 right? Down Grandview Drive, you should put a zip line. And I'm just like, okay. So we ask people to write it down. Once you have to write something down, right? Then you in your belly go, this is a terrible idea. And then we don't hear from people sometimes, right?
Or it's a wonderful idea.
Or it's a wonderful idea. And when we hear it's a wonderful idea, then that writing in that letter of request comes to the park board for an initial review that says, yeah, I think we're interested in this, or we'd like to learn more about it, or no, there's no way we can imagine that this is something we'd be interested in. So that group passed that first hurdle where the board said, we want to learn more about this. We aren't committed yet, but we want to learn more about the idea, right? We want to have more details about what you're thinking, how it would impact the larger community, what that economic development opportunity looks like, what those equity pieces are, all those pieces, right? How it would affect the park environmentally. So they came back to us in October of 2020 with a presentation to the board that says, here in broad strokes are our ideas, okay? At that point, the board gave consensus for staff to, just one second, okay? Gave the board consensus to staff to start to evaluate the project from a financial standpoint, okay? So figure out what a relationship could look like. And once we have that kind of nailed down, then we will go through a process very similar to this, where we gather public input, we get feedback from people. They say to us, yes, we want this, no, we don't. They can ask questions that we would be able to answer. Because if you start that too early, like it or not, if all of my answers to you, if I stood up here tonight and I said, I don't know that yet. I don't know that yet. Maybe you get really mad at me, and that's no fun for me or for you, right? So we have to evaluate the process to the point where we have enough information to be able to present a project to the community in a way that it can be fully vetted. So at this point, the board has not said, yes, we want to sign a contract. They haven't said, no, we don't want to sign a contract. They want more information to be able to evaluate the project on its face to determine if that is something that makes sense for Donovan Park. Yes, sir.
13 feet.
We do not view it that way, and I want to say that like 8 times. Right, we are not thinking about that in that way, okay? Those things have been linked together by circumstance, by time, by media, by everybody. We do not think about those as I'm gonna unplug it here and I'm gonna plug it in there. That is not what we are talking about, okay? So I don't know, do I need to say it one more time? Everybody get that? We don't see those things that way. We see the need for programming space in this park. We see the need for special event space in this park. I mean, we all did, right? How many of you came to Shakespeare in the Park? It was magical, right? How many of you were a part of our 125th anniversary? Maybe not as many when we had the record company, the band up top, and we used the fence up there. It was effective.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, I know, Harry Potter. Okay, all right. Maybe someday again, we'll do our best. I love Harry Potter. Fireworks. Whoever said that, fireworks. Those are all things, right? Fireworks don't require a fence with barbed wire. Fireworks don't require, these hard physical spaces. They belong here. We understand that. They belong here. They belong in East Bluff. We have to figure out how to do that, but it doesn't require this space to look exactly like this space to support that. Yes. Up there, right there. Yeah. There is not a particular reason why the inclusive one cannot be up there. So we have to evaluate that and make sure that we are making the best choice. Maybe it's a short fence, right? Maybe it's a pickleball fence for any pickleball people. There's lots of ways to do that, but yes, that's a great question. Yep, it's the puzzle pieces, right? They can fit anywhere in the puzzle. They just have to fit in the footprint of Glen Oak Park. I don't really want to jinx it. I don't want to talk about it a whole lot. Me too. And you know what? They are essential parts of those parks, and it's just new. It's just different. Yes, ma'am. You want to come up here so we can hear you? Right into the microphone.
I've been coming to this park
This
since I was a child. I've done all the music programs and the music festivals. I have brought my children to all the music things and music festivals. We've come to these concerts for over 35 years. My kids have played in the band for municipal band for almost that long. I still have one playing in it. You don't have music programs for them to take anymore like you used to. They priced them out to not feasible for people to take anymore like they were when my kids were in it. But I would like to have my grandkids to have the same opportunities that my kids had and be able to come down here. And if I'm not mistaken, which I could be, I think the band shell belongs to municipal band. I don't think it belongs to Park District. I'm not sure, but I think the band shell belongs to municipal band.
Yeah.
And I also, my kids have done the sports programs and everything, and the Park District always took sports over music. And my boys all did sports and everything, but I'm kind of tired of sports over doing music.
I understand that.
You know, my kids did both. They did all the sports, they did all the music, but I'm tired of sports being number one. We need to support the Spanish Shell and which we look into see if it wants it.
I do understand that, and we have looked at that, and the challenge is that we have to find a way to work together, right? All the folks back here in the shirts, we have to figure out how to work together because we each own a part of this, right? It's like if I own this arm and they own that arm, we have to figure out how to do it together.
These dedications on
Yeah,
there, one is
sure.
Brett Huber and that one. I mean, and they wouldn't mind having a roof over it, you know, catch a roof to the top of it.
Well, there's a part of me that wants to say that I invite them to figure out how to do that, but I'm not going to say that. They do, I don't disagree with you. They do own it. We also, as far as we can find, we don't have a signed agreement from past 1984. And we've been working together like parts of the community family that we are. And so the it's in the file. There's nothing that's signed.
There's a signed contract from 1959.
Right, but it expired after 25 years. Nope, there are no re-ups on that.
It's not re-signed. It says that it re-ups every year.
There's an end date to that. There's an end date to that, and there was an agreement from the 90s that was not signed. It doesn't matter because we are a part of this family together serving our community. We're going to find a solution to that. But it is just like I said, the park district owns this arm, the beauty band owns this arm. We have to figure out how to work together because we have to find a place to park it.
I have 7 kids, so that's how it is.
It feels like that. It feels like that all the time, right? She said she had 7 kids and she feels like that all the time. So it's just, it was a perfect example.
As far as the lagoon.
Yep.
I worry about it being, just plain open.
Okay.
Without any supervision. Without little kids being able to just come down.
I can promise you that there will be some sort of a fence here. There'll be some sort of, so that you can't just like walk into it.
You're wanting people to come and be. I worry about them having that access.
Okay. All right, we will.
Just free to go into the lagoon.
It's not, it doesn't look quite.
Sir, come on up. Oh gosh, no, wait. I need you to sit because I've skipped her 3 times. Come on up.
It's okay, it's nothing really that important, but it's important to me. I live on the 700 block of East Acadia, which is a fairly busy street. Our kids have nothing to do. Okay, literally nothing to do with the summertime except they end up in trouble. The basketball courts have been taken away. That was due to no one volunteering to watch them from 5 till 10 hours a day. No one stepped up to volunteer except for Jesse McGowan that was sitting next to me just a few moments ago. Lawrence has now volunteered to step up. If we can get them to step back up, then we can have the basketball courts back. Our boys here, especially our younger ones and the girls, they need something like this. And I completely disagree with the idea that basketball is going to cause all these fights. Yeah, it right, but guess what? The NBA has fights. Their league baseball has fights. Have you watched professional sports? Like hockey, anything, you have fights. It's gonna happen. Everybody complains when there's a shooting and they say, why don't they use their fists? Then they use their fists and you complain. What is the solution that will make you all happy? Give them something to do or they will destroy you.
Thank you. This may not, I want to just note for you as we talk about that comment that there's nothing to do. Some of that is maybe by choice, okay? So we were able to, through a grant that we received, we were able to provide summer fun passes to provide full-time free access to the zoo and to the Children's Museum to all Peoria Public Schools students. We were able to offer a visit to the Owen Center to do free skate. We were able to offer a bucket of balls at the Golf Learning Center to try golf. We have a Sunday Funday shuttle that we offer every Sunday, and we've been doing that for July, August. We'll do that through the end of September, where you can access that Sunday Funday shuttle from 6 different locations, and it runs on a loop constantly all day on Sundays. And it goes to Glen Oak Park, it goes to Forest Park Nature Center, it goes to the Riverplex, it goes to Proctor Center, it goes to Logan Center, and it goes to Bradley Park. So you can access locations across our community. You can have access to those things to do. We can't, we're doing the best we can.
I know you are. Teenagers don't
Right.
see it that way though. And those are
Sure.
the ones that are getting, they
Sure.
want to go to the Discovery Playhouse. I mean, my 8-year-old doesn't want to go there.
Sure.
Too old
We
for
got to
it.
start somewhere though. So I just
Yeah,
wanted to
I
note
know.
that.
I appreciate what you've done.
This is going back in time, but it used to be the park district had all summer long programs where there were arts and crafts offered, games offered. there's always somebody there to do. And I was growing up. Outside Park.
Sure.
I thought that was wonderful. Does that still exist?
It does not still exist in that form. We started this summer, we are adding in what we call PPD on the go, where we are bringing programming into local parks to try to provide some of that on a limited basis. That's the philosophy we are trying to implement, where instead of having everything in one spot and expecting all the people to come to one spot, we're trying to spread our programming out across multiple locations so that we're able to reach people where they are. It may not be as a big, long, steady stream in one spot, so that neighborhood doesn't, feel like they get as much programming, but we are trying to serve our community in a variety of ways and to provide that programming. I can't tell you when that programming last existed like that.
It was wonderful.
Sure.
I went to movies there.
Sure.
I went to the park. I went to the park.
Yeah.
I could swim it. I mean, I just, well, I could.
Sure. And we are trying to add those things into the best of our ability. We are trying to offer movies in the park. I understand. I know it used to be here. We are spreading that out across multiple locations. We have a big inflatable movie screen that we're able to take that into a variety of parks and do programming prior to those movies. All of those schedules, all of that programming is online, and you can see that on our website if you're looking for things to do. And certainly, we're trying. Eddie, are you ready? You ready? Let's go. All right, lean in.
Hello, Peoria. And Glen Oak Park specifically. I want to thank Executive Director Cahill and her staff and the Peoria Park District for going the public input route. This is so wonderful. This is so appreciated to see all the people here. Because number one, I was born and raised in Peoria, Academy Spalding High School. And I grew up in this park, like a lot of people have said. And I love Glen Oak Park. And we all love Glen Oak Park. And that's the unifying factor, I think, for all of us. Now, I own my own home in the East Bluff, just within walking distance of here, right down Arcadia, with my wonderful family here. And, we want to see the park enhanced. And I'm a writer, community organizer, human rights guy, and I wrote just a few things. Won't take up 5 minutes, but I wrote it down. I want to make sure and say this. Professional staff and elected park district trustees and the public have the rare opportunity at this time as we emerge from the COVID pandemic to set in place an uplifting vision for Glen Oak Park. A bold, new, inclusive vision for the future of the park is best served by embracing the past to restore and maximize the beloved features we have right now. The various major features should all be reconnected and upgraded to restore something of the former glory of the early days of Glen Oak Park more than a century ago. This is possible by re-emphasizing a restored upper park loop anchored at one end by the Park Zoo and Botanical Gardens, and at the other by the Amphitheater and children's outdoor playgrounds, with a priority on walking and bicycling. Once the major features in that loop are properly maintained, restored, and enhanced, Glen Oak Park will be an even more vibrant and inclusive location, drawing visitors from the surrounding East Bluff neighborhood, the city as a whole, as well as the entire region. First, our acclaimed zoo and botanical gardens should be reconnected to the Outer Bluff oak-lined walkway by restoring the ruined Lover's Walk iron suspension bridge.
Yes.
Built in 1902 as an original park element, an original park design. It is in such a decayed state that it requires a complete rebuild. However, what remains can serve as a model for reconstruction, possibly using the existing massive column bridge supports and the ornamental cast iron bridge railings and entranceways. And once we do that, we can also open up those roadways that are now blocked off that lead down to the Ingersoll statue and the beautiful pavilion that we have there in the lower part. That should be reintegrated. That is a gorgeous, gorgeous pavilion that is not used right now as much as it should be. A restored Lovers Walk Bridge will lead to a completely new Pioneers Log Cabin, which could be a worthy project for the large numbers of girls and boys scouting groups or similar organizations. New and upgraded picnic and recreation equipment are needed in the gorgeous oak-lined Outer Bluff top region. This beautifully maintained region of the park, as it is now, simply needs the pedestrian, foot, and bike traffic. A restored Lovers Walk Bridge from the zoo area and Botanical Garden area will provide again. The end of the restored oak-lined walk and bikeways still has two century-old, evenly spaced concrete stepways leading down to the street directly from the landmark Victorian Pavilion and former Park District Administrative Offices, now home to the Children's Museum. On the far side of the Pavilion, the Children's Museum, walkers and bikers will come to a fully restored, beloved small animals pagoda-style building, which we see right there. It's now sadly unused and unmaintained. We have to rebuild that. First constructed in 1905, it was most recently repurposed for concession sales. Walkers and bikers will proceed onto a fully repurposed, currently underutilized lagoon, which is adjacent here to the amphitheater, which is also currently underutilized. Rental boats or kayaks should be reintroduced, along with upgrades to the walkways and bike trails around the lagoon, along with added special events like the former beloved fishing derby, which we've mentioned here. The Glen Oak Park Amphitheater is closely connected to the lagoon. Not only does a portion of the amphitheater have gorgeous views of the water, the amphitheater here, this ground is built on a landfill over a past side section of the lagoon waterway itself. This was all underwater at one time. So the connection here is historic, and it needs to say the view of the lagoon is just gorgeous here that we have to enhance. This public accessible performance facility most certainly has seen better days for upkeep and operations. Anyone can see that. But we can and must restore the amphitheater as a top flight, small to medium-sized daylight and nighttime performance area. Anything less than a remodeled and upgraded facility would be a cultural snub to the area and a disinvestment in the park and the immediate East Bluff district. We don't need new proposals necessarily for Glen Oak Park. We only need to follow as much as possible the original blueprint laid down by noted landscape artist Oscar Dubois, who created the park, who laid out the plans for the park. Long removed band shells and community performance spaces are the forerunners to the current Glen Oak Park Amphitheater in 1959. To remove the amphitheater would be a crippling disservice to the city of Peoria. The amphitheater remains a major element to the city's continuing commitment to the culture, recreation, and overall physical and mental health of its residents and guests. Thank you.
So just a couple, I just want to quickly note for you and for all of you who are still here that it is our goal. There is money in our 2021 bond issue. So our goal is by the end of this year to redo the walkway around the lagoon. that is a part of that plan. I am not entirely sure what to say. There's a lot of things in that, right? But the challenge that I need all of you to understand and appreciate is the entire park district and how we have to allocate those resources. And so it does require some patience. It does require an understanding of please know our commitment. This is a unique opportunity that we have to have dollars from a separate source in order to do some of those projects in one swoop. And so our goal is, as it has been throughout, to work with all of you to make sure that we have the greatest impact possible with those dollars for the people who live here. And that is my commitment to you. Is there anyone else who has a comment? Oh, I'm so sorry. Come on up. I'm so sorry. I'm bad at this. It's been a long night.
Good evening. My name is Ben Evans. You can tell I'm not from Peoria originally. I don't live in East Bluff. I live up by Donovan. I've been here about 15 years now, just less. I'm from England originally. Came here today to learn about this amphitheater. I've actually never been in the amphitheater. Been in Glen Oak a lot. Was here on Saturday for the zoo and the pass and Tricentennial Park. It was great to hear all the local memories, aspirations, what they do and do not want. And I'm particularly interested in what the implications of the overlap will be with this and the Donovan Amphitheater. I think it's pretty clear to me that this facility couldn't be the fancy facility they have in mind for Donovan. I think that's a shame. If people are particularly interested in the bandstand as is, obviously that platform is not very accessible for people who have wheelchairs or other needs. It would be great to have a roof, and I'm sure a great architect could make a facility that has a roof and has some other infrastructure and a flat screen for projection, whether it's films or backdrops or productions. Because unfortunately, even 1959, let alone 1902, we are not in that situation. And so the sort of events that people want to come and see have changed a little bit, plus the huge increase in parking they'll need since 1959. So I'm sure they could make a great facility or a bandstand with a level stage, which is adaptable, not just the fancy hydraulic leveling that they're talking about in Donovan. I'll be at that meeting to talk about.
I look forward to that, Ben.
Because I love Donovan Park. I run there so many times every week. The person who said that there's truth in nature does not understand why that doesn't include building an 18-acre building. That's just not the same thing. This is a great facility, this amphitheater. I think there's lots of small things you could do. I'll throw in a few observations. I have no interest in basketball. Not really interested in the lagoon. I've run around it lots of times. It's great, but some landscaping, I just limit my observations to, if you wanted to take out the fence for visibility and also the access, please don't take out the trees. Or I'm sure you know what we're doing with invasive species, but we need more. We definitely need more shade in the inner city. And then, yes, the infrastructure of the bandstand, modernize it. I'm sure it can be tastefully done. It doesn't need to be the riverfront stage.
It could be.
I don't hear that the locals really want tailgate and tall boys here on Saturday night.
I am a local.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Anybody else with a comment? Anybody else with a question? Yep, come on up, sir. I know you have to wait patiently until you come closer to the microphone.
Thank you. Has there been any thought of the existing structure here remaining, but having some of the local schools, whether it's Bradley University or ICC or even some of the high schools, have a competition where their engineering classes design a roof for this? Existing structure and building, something similar like the stuff you stage down on the riverfront.
Yes. Yes.
It doesn't have to be, a structure where it has a solid roof, and that way I do know the speakers are going to need replacing. They're from 1984.
You think that's not a good roof?
Well, that could be incorporated as well. So just an idea. So make it a competition with the schools to see who can design the the best roof for this structure.
So I certainly will tell you that we are open to most anything, okay? I will tell you that, to Ben's point, there are accessibility issues here that we have to figure out how to address. There are not only for the use of the stage, but also for accessibility and view and vistas to get this opened up. My understanding, and I know that you hate this answer when this is the kind of answer that you get, but at some point, it is more cost effective for us to create a new band shell that meets all of those modern requirements than it is to try to retrofit an older band shell that has lots of challenges from electricity or otherwise. But the thing is, and I'm going to go all the way back to before I stood up here in front of you to start a conversation I had with Lawrence, is that when we said, and I think I said it to all of you, when we say amphitheater, we are talking about the band shell and trying to find a different way to do that that will allow us to meet all the needs that we've talked about here tonight. That commitment to events and programming. And if that's a feasible way to do it, we're certainly going to look at that. I also trust the staff that we have who work at the Park District to assess that, as we were asked to come up with an initial grant proposal to say, what would you do? Knowing that and having them look at this, their opinion, which has become my opinion as I stand up here and speak for them, is that it is in our larger best interest to think about figuring out a replacement in this space or shifted slightly than it is to try to retrofit this from 1959. Now, we'll have to all work together to figure out what that looks like, and that will take us some time, and that's why we started the conversation now.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank
So,
you.
And one more thing. I fully agree. Fences, when you see a fence, what does it tell everybody? You're not welcome.
That's right. I
So-
hate that.
so-
Barbed wire.
Amen.
Especially barbed wire.
Especially. All right. Thank you. Anybody else have a comment? Are there any of the trustees who want to say anything tonight? Joyce? Well, Joyce comes up here, we'll say hi to Robert and hope you're doing well. We look forward to seeing you soon.
I'm Joyce Herron, and I'm in the Central District, and this isn't exactly, the Central District is sort of a ways away, but I just want to thank everybody. This has been high energy and love the ideas. And in my mind, I think sometimes you need to be shook a little to realize what you have and to get yourselves together to really think about what the possibilities are for this park. And so thank you again. And I'm hoping really for long term, even after these decisions are made, that maybe there's some way to have a Glen Oak Park Advisory Committee that's sort of ongoing to keep the conversations going so that it's not, doesn't end with when the decisions are made. So thanks again.
Say something on the microphone, kiddo? How'd you get too nervous? Because here, I'll come to you. I'll come to you. You ready? 1, 2, 3.
Alicia, can you hear me?
I just want dance recitals to be here and this and stuff too, like songs and stuff, like more recitals. Thank you.
You did so great. Thank you. You did great. Good job. All right. If you are agreeable, I think that's an outstanding way to end this evening. Does anybody else have anything they want to say?
I'll be back here September 1st.
No.
Donovan. Advertise 2 meetings.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. I thought you meant the band. Lee Winger, I thought you were trying to pull something on me here at the end. No, okay, so when we put the dates out for the September 1st meeting, we put it at the Noble Center. This works really great. I'm happy to have this here again. We'll put information out. Why don't we plan to have the meeting here? If weather does not allow for that, then the Noble Center will be our backup, but we will put information out. And I think it's really important. I don't know about all of you, but we have certainly, it is so much easier to have a conversation about a space when you're in the space, right? And so our goal would be to be back here on September 1st, and we will promote that and make sure that everybody knows that difference, and we'll have signage posted so everybody knows to come to the right place.
6 o'clock again?
6 o'clock here.
Will it be dark by then?
It might be.
What day of the week is that?
September 1st is a Wednesday. The next meeting we will have though, so we have been doing, I know, right? I said I was done and then I kept talking. Talk about it Tuesday, talk about it Thursday. Those are things that we are having. Some of you were chatted with me last week in the Noble Center. On Tuesday, the 24th, talk about it Tuesday, I will be sitting on the porch at the Peoria Playhouse Children's Museum from 4 to 6, and I'm happy to have some individual conversations with you or to have a small group conversation. I think, you know, that when we talked for 2 hours, we ended up in a different place than we started. And it's important. Thank you so much. It's important to be able to have those conversations to address concerns and questions and clarify. So I will be up there on Tuesday, the 24th. I hope that you'll join me. We also have our Friday Facebook Lives at 10 a.m. if you're Facebookers, that you can get online Friday mornings. No, it says he's not, yeah. But we are taking questions there live and answering those at 10 o'clock on Friday. So hopefully lots of different ways for you to connect with us. I will hang out here for a little bit by the maps, and I hope that you all feel like you were heard tonight, that you feel like you learned something tonight, and I look forward to future conversations. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have an estimate for when the Donovan Park conversations will be with the public?
My goal would be that that's probably September, October. Late fall is, yeah, September, October. That is soon. I know. Time flies, man. I wish it would slow down a little bit. Yeah, I'm trying to keep it out of the budget conversation in November. So, all right. Thank you all so much for your attention tonight. I really appreciate it.